So sometimes people wonder, and I've even wondered before, why does Jesus teach us in his Sermon on the Mount? You've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, do not resist the evil person. But if anyone would slap you on the right cheek, give to him the other one also. And if anyone would sue you and take your tunic, give him your coat also. And if anyone would demand that you go with them 1 mile, go instead 2. And give to whoever asks of you, and not refuse to whoever wants to borrow from you. And like I've kind of thought, like, okay, well, that just like demonstrates weakness, right? Like that's something I used to think a long time ago, and that's also something that like people still struggle with today, and that's because they don't understand the nature of God's kingdom. So I want to explain to you why Jesus teaches that. And first of all, it's not something Jesus is teaching us that, like, legalistically, this is something you have to do. So every single time somebody hurts you, just kind of receive the blows. But it's an attitude. It's a condition that you have, and that you come to have when you live with God, when you live as an apprentice of Jesus, and you're learning from Jesus in his kingdom, how to live your life as he would if he were you. And the reason that this is something that happens in the individual is because the kingdom that you live in is an actually powerful one. And kingdoms that aren't powerful are the kind of kingdoms that you have to resist and fight other people in order to keep in power. So take the Roman Empire, for example. I mean, he uses an illustration that was common for Roman citizens during that period of time, especially people who they were oppressing, like the Jews. A Roman centurion could just walk up to you and just say, "You're going to carry my equipment 1 mile, do it." And they would just load you up with their equipment, and you were just forced to do that. And that was a way of them demonstrating their authority over you. You have to do what I say, and obviously an even bigger way that they demonstrated their authority, they crucified whoever opposed them, and they conquered territory and killed off whole groups of people, and subordinated them under their authority. That's what you have to do if you're a weak kingdom that's not going to last, and that was proven when the Roman Empire fell. But God's kingdom is described differently. God's kingdom is described as a kingdom that will never end, as a kingdom that will never fade away. It will never, nothing can destroy it. If anything rises up against it, it's just going to be in vain that it tried to even do that in the first place. And that's actually described in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. I think it's Daniel 7. I think I could be off. It's in the book of Daniel. And Nebuchadnezzar has this dream of this big statue, and it has like a head of gold and like a breastplate of silver, and like bronze legs, and then feet that are made of like clay and iron, and these different. Daniel ends up interpreting this dream. All these other servants of Nebuchadnezzar couldn't do it. Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. And Daniel interprets this dream to Nebuchadnezzar. This is hundreds of years before Jesus arrives on the scene, and it's during the Babylonian occupation, and during the empire of Babylon. And Daniel interprets it as, okay, so this head is of gold, that's you, Nebuchadnezzar, that's you and your kingdom, the Babylonian Empire. And this breastplate of silver is going to be a kingdom that comes after you, and this bronze metal, that's for the legs, that's going to be a kingdom that comes after that kingdom. And then this other kingdom made of clay and like it's like these two mixed things, it's representing this divided kingdom that comes in the end, and that represented the Roman Empire. And so you have like Babylon, and you have Medo-Persia, and you have Greece, and you have the Roman Empire, these 4 different kingdoms. But then all of a sudden, in this dream that Nebuchadnezzar has, this rock comes and just crushes the feet of this statue, and the whole statue comes to the ground and shatters into nothing, and this rock becomes this mighty kingdom that's like, it becomes this mighty mountain that fills the whole earth, right? That's God's kingdom. Daniel talks about it's the kingdom of the living God, the God of heaven, and it just destroys all these other kingdoms, and it doesn't have to. Nothing can do anything about it. It just grows until it becomes a mighty mountain that fills the whole earth. And so nobody has to fight for it. Nobody has to resist other people or conquer territory, right? So Jesus is teaching us to live in such a level of security That's the thing. It's such a level of security because we live as children of the never-ending kingdom. That if somebody slaps me on the right cheek, I can look at somebody and I'm like, you're fighting for, whether it's just your own personal kingdom, that's your own influence in the world, or whether it's a kingdom like the Roman Empire, another kingdom that's just a feeble, weak kingdom that's just going to pass away at some point. And you're using the only tools that you have, and that's violence. And so, like, you can look at somebody who has to slap you on the right cheek to prove that they have authority over you and just sympathize with them and be like, oh, that's the only tools that you have? Go ahead and slap me on the other one. That's fine. You know, and like, if somebody sues you and takes your coat, or sues you and takes your tunic, give them your coat also, that's like, that's all you've got to, like, sue me and like take from me. That's how you are gaining influence and authority. That's how your kingdom operates. Go ahead, take that, take my coat also, because I live in a kingdom where I have abundance of resources. You see people as like, you're fighting you're living in a world of scarcity. You're living in a world of I have to conquer, I have to take, I have to make it mine. I have all these things I have to grab onto, because if I let them go, then my kingdom's going to fall apart. But if you're living from the kingdom of God, you're so secure. Nothing's going to fall out of your hands. You're in the grip of God himself. So you're just like, okay, take my coat. That's fine. Take it all. You know, if you take my car, this is an actual thing that's happened before, where there was this man who, a guy came and stole his car, but he like didn't take the keys. Like, he had to like hotwire it or whatever, make the car get going. And the guy ended up finding the person who stole his car, and he's like, hey, you forgot the keys. Here, go ahead and take it. And this just bewildered the guy who stole the car. He's like, what? You know, and like there's been cases like this where like there was actually this group of kids who came and like stole some stuff out of a guy's house, like this big, huge, expensive china set or something like that, something along those lines. And the guy found the kids who stole these things, and instead of pressing charges, he's like, hey, you guys forgot these pieces. There's a couple pieces you missed of it. You guys go ahead and have that too. And the kids were bewildered. And I think those kids actually ended up coming to the Lord, because this guy, his level of security this guy had, this level of, you can't do anything about the kingdom that I'm living in. That's witnessing, you see. So Jesus teaches us about that quality that develops in the individual who's learning from Jesus as his disciple, that just doesn't feel the need to resist the evil person, because that's a way of witnessing about the kingdom that never ends. That's a way of witnessing about the kingdom that is secure no matter what happens to it. Right? Other kingdoms, you know, people leave in history, they think about the Roman Empire like that was a powerful kingdom. Not really. That was actually an unfortunately weak and feeble, pitiable kingdom that was built by people who didn't understand the nature of reality, because reality is God's kingdom. And God's kingdom is something that never ends and never fades. And the only way that you're going to live in the eternal kind of life that goes on and on forever is if you join with God and live with God in his kingdom. And that's a kingdom where we don't use weapons like conquering other people and hitting people on the cheek and forcing them to do things for us. But that's a kingdom where we serve and we bless other people and we give and we live in a state of abundance, and we're generous, and we realize that we're taken care of by God, because we're not just a bunch of officers fighting to maintain this authority, but instead the authority is going to be established forever, and it always has been established since before the beginning of time, because the authority is God himself, and we're just children of his. It's like the prodigal son who, you know, he comes to his senses, and his father throws a feast for him, and the oldest son gets a little mad, because he's like, well, you never thrown a feast for me. And his father turns to him and he's like, everything that's mine is yours. You know, and we are co-heirs with Christ. You know, we are, because God said so, sharing responsibility with Christ over creation. And that's what we're doing right now if we're living with Christ, because he rose from the dead, and we're learning from him how to live our lives in the kingdom of God. So I just thought I'd share that because that was something I was thinking about. Because I think people just assume that, okay, well, if somebody hurts me, I just can't fight back. All right, I do believe in self-defense. Like if somebody especially is coming in and they're going to try to take your family out and that kind of thing, I do believe in self-defense. But he's not talking about this legalistic, just do this no matter what. Like if somebody hurts you or hurts your family, just let them do it. No, that's not what it is. And I really wanted to make this video just to clear that up. But he's talking about a mindset and a condition that you can arrive at in your soul, where you live in such a state of security that you weep for those and you pity those and you sympathize with those who have to use the weapons of this world to maintain their kingdom. And like, if somebody is going to kill other people, it's the law of the kingdom is love. So if you have the ability to stop that person from killing because you have the ability to take them out first, I don't believe that the kingdom is opposed to that. But it's whatever is in the best interests of people. That's what love is. Love is willing the good of others. So if you have to take somebody out, you can do it lovingly, sympathizing with them, pitying them because of the fact that, oh, you're possessed by your own desire to advance your kingdom, and therefore that results in you becoming a murderous person, etc. But you have to defend other people sometimes, especially your family. If you're a man, you have a responsibility to defend your family. But like yourself personally, like if somebody slaps me on the right cheek, it's like, oh, you poor fella. I mean, they're not threatening my life. They're just trying to demonstrate their authority over me, or they're trying to offend me. And it's like, that's the thing. If you live in such a state of security because you're living in the kingdom of God as a disciple of Jesus, you don't have to defend your own authority. So you don't have to be offended. You can be completely unoffendable. Matter of fact, if you haven't arrived at that place of unoffendable, I would invite you just to check yourself. Ask the Lord, to reveal that to you. Am I offendable? Do I get defensive too often, Lord? Because that's something that teaching, we've heard it was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, that's teaching us to be the kind of people who are unoffendable. So just thought I'd drop that in your sphere today. So you guys have a blessed day.